Hello! In this video we'll be talking about Maya warfare. And for the longest time, archaeologists used to believe that the Maya were an incredibly gentle and peaceful people. And while this is in part true, they did have a lot of wars between different city-states. So they'd never previously found evidence of warfare until they dug their way into a temple, which had some of the most brutal scenes they'd ever seen. We now know that Maya warfare... Oh my gosh. Hello! In this video, we'll be talking about Maya warfare. For the longest time, archaeologists used to believe that the Maya were a gentle and peaceful people. We now know that Mayan warfare was intense and never-ending. They became even worse near the end of the classical Maya time period, but in this video we'll be discussing the types of weapons they used and some accounts from the historical record. This opinion about Maya warfare changed when archaeologists found evidence of their warfare when they dug their way into a temple that had some of the most brutal scenes they had ever seen. And you may recognize one of the pictures and think that it's from the movie Apocalypta. Well, I can tell you, I could totally went back in time and took this picture myself and made it back to tell you all about Maya warfare. And from these pictures, you can see that they used all kinds of weapons. You can see spears, stone clubs, wooden fire-hardened axes with flint and obsidian blades, blowguns, throwing sticks, javelins, slings. One of the weapons they used is a jaztom, or white heart spear throwers. These were they had long flexible shields, bows and arrows. They wore armor made of cotton vests stuffed with rock salt. And the conquistadors who came from Spain to conquer this world, they said that they also wore conquistadors who wore giant metal plates on their chest. They, in this jungle environment, they actually used the Mayan style of armor. Mayans also wore a coal helmet made of pyrite. One of the interesting things about the Mayan army is that we don't really have evidence of a full-time army. They used militias. When it was time to fight, they grouped together to go mess up some other guys. Mayan kings fought to capture and torture each other like a giant game of chess. Their goal was to capture the other king. At different times, there was a thing called a Star War. Not like, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, but they still called it a Star War. It was a full-scale war planned at the time of astronomical events. Usually, the appearance on the morning sky of the planet Venus was seen as a sign of great evil and the most appropriate time for warfare for the attacker. And when we talk about Maya warfare, we have to talk about some of the things that they fought for. Warriors went out and they captured enemy on the battlefield and brought them back to the city for a royal presentation, a parade. And similar to the Aztecs, the more warriors you brought back, the better warrior you were, the more prisoners you had, the better chance for promotion. Kings wrote about war to tell you how great they were at it. And when Mayans took a city, they would often go in and break the fingers of all the scribes so that the scribes couldn't, say bad things about the conquering people. They had in their stories a few female warriors, so war could be done by men and women. This famous lady warrior was Wak Chenil Ohau, or Lady Six Sky. And one of the things that I found incredibly interesting about Maya warfare is that they used bees. In the Popol Vuh, Part 4, Chapter 4, it says, "They surrounded the town, crying out loudly, armed with arrows and shields, beating drums, giving war whoops, whistling, shouting, inciting them to fight. When they arrived in front of the town, the 4 gourds which were at the edge of the town were opened, and the bumblebees and wasps came out of the gourds, like a great cloud of smoke. They emerged from the gourds, and thus the warriors perished because of the insects which stung the pupils of their eyes, and fastened themselves to their noses, their mouths, their legs, and their arms." And so, that's a pretty brutal way to fight. Like, we have biological warfare done in the ancient world. There's accounts of battles fought on lakes and rivers while they're fighting in canoes. And one of the things that I find incredibly interesting is that any battle they fought, they brought out their marching band with them. So marching bands aren't just for sporting events or parades. They could inspire the troops and, keep everyone fighting and scare off the enemy. Over time, armies got bigger and bigger until the Mayan civilization as a whole fell apart and they disappeared, and the conquistadors eventually came and finished them off. Thank you for watching this video on Maya warfare.